Hi, good morning. I'm Julie Kelly. For those who don't know me, I'm a Buddhist scholar and a traditional Indian healer. I'm also a teacher and scholar of meditation. So today I want to talk about meditation, why many people choose meditation in the West, and what are the pitfalls. Now, I have to tell you a little story first, just so that you understand a little bit about what I'm talking about. I spent a lot of time over the past 12 years coming and going to India. And India is where I did most of my training and where I did most of my study in traditional Indian healing and where I became a Buddhist. Now, when I went to India, I thought I was an experienced meditator because I could sit for hours. I could sit meditating. And when people asked me and they said, "Oh, how long can you sit in meditation?" I said, "Oh, I can do an hour." And they were gobsmacked, they were really surprised. So I went to India. It's a long story why I went. But I gave up my job as a social worker, which I'd been doing for about 20 years. And one day I just decided I needed to change my life. So I went off to India, and I had no intention then of becoming a Buddhist. I just thought that I was a good meditator and that I was going somewhere spiritual. So many paths turned and weaved, and I ended up in Dharamsala, which is the home of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I got into a hotel or a guest house, whichever you want to call it, and it was the most beautiful place. Out of my window I could see the Himalaya, snow-topped. It was just beautiful. So every morning I would go onto the top of the roof, the flat roof, and meditate, and the sounds of nature were just beautiful. But I got a block. I found that I could not connect, I could not meditate. And something was wrong, something was really wrong. There I was in the most beautiful spiritual country in the world, 10 minutes away from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Nothing. And at that time, there was a monk who was living in the place where I was. And he was just there doing duties, really. He wasn't doing his monk duties. He was there doing some kind of cleaning, and he was just helping to maintain the place. So we became good friends, even though his English wasn't so good. But he was a really spiritual person. But we didn't communicate very well. We just knew each other. We liked each other a lot because he became a very good friend, and the reason I became a Buddhist. But anyway, one morning I decided that I was going to try again. And this was after a couple of months of being in India. So I sat on the rooftop and I tried to meditate, and I heard this voice, and it was saying like, "Hello, hello, hello." Now I know you think that's a bit crazy, but that's exactly what happened. I knew it wouldn't have been my friend that was interrupting my meditation. I couldn't figure what it was. So I looked around and there was nothing there, absolutely nothing there. And it was probably one of the first times that I'd really sank into a deep meditation whilst in India. So I tried again and the same thing happened. And when I looked around, I noticed on a fence, because there was like a railing going around the rooftop, that there was a bird, a blackbird, and it was speaking in English. It was saying hello. And I sat there and I watched it, and it was just chattering away and saying hello. Now at that point, I knew I wasn't going to tell anyone about this because I thought people are going to really think I've lost the plot. So I didn't tell anyone, except my friend. And I chatted over to him, and he said he knew someone who could help. He knew someone who could take me through the reasons why probably this had happened. And that's how I met my teacher and how I came to study at the home of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. My teacher had a little room within the Dalai Lama's monastery, so I studied there for a while with him. But one of the things that I learned was that sitting for long periods of time, like I'd been doing, achieved nothing except a numb backside. That's all I achieved. What happened was I had to strip the whole thing back and start meditating for short periods of time on specific issues like compassion or even just being with the breath. So short periods of time like 5 minutes, 10 minutes is much better than sitting for an hour and achieving nothing at all except surprised looks when you say you can sit for an hour. So that's one thing. But what I wanted to talk about mostly was the pitfalls, because many Westerners, they choose meditation and mindfulness when something's going wrong in their lives, when they can't get a quick fix to what they need. So they feel that, well, okay, we'll give meditation a try, it's supposed to work. And when it doesn't work, they say, oh, well, it's rubbish, it's all like hocus pocus. What we need to realise is meditation takes effort. Meditation isn't about clearing the mind. It's about acknowledging the thoughts that come into the mind and not letting them dominate our mind. So it's about us being in control of our thoughts. Now, over the years, many of us have learned, and we've trained our brains really well. We've become really good teachers of how to get our brains to focus on so many things at one time. You know, we're looking after the kids, we're trying to do the housework, we're trying to do the shopping, trying to go out, do this, do that. We're at work, we're trying to meet deadlines and targets, and then trying to work and do the job we're paid to do. In actual reality, the mind and the brain cannot do more than one thing at once. So what you usually find is when you're running around trying to achieve everything, you probably achieve very little. How many times have you thought, right, tomorrow I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this, and this, and all you do is end up sitting there watching daytime television. So this is what happens to many of us. And the reason for that is we put too much effort into our meditation or into our plans. We overplan, we set our goals too high, and if we are using meditation, we put too much effort into it. We sit there expecting our minds to be clear so we can get rid of the problem that we actually started meditation for in the first place. What actually happens is when we start to relax, if we ever get to that point, because most often than not when we sit there we're thinking about what we're making for tea, what we're going to do, why we shouldn't be sitting here and why we should be doing something else. But if you do get to a point where you create that relaxation, then what tends to happen is the most bizarre thoughts start to come into our mind. Like when I first started meditating, it was ice cream vans. Never been to an ice cream van for years, but they kept coming into my mind. Ice cream cones, ice lollies, cars zooming past, anything to put me off my quiet time. And the reason for that is the mind is saying, hang on a minute. For all these years you've been training me to work at 100 miles an hour, and now you want me to stop? Well, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm not going to work at your pace. That's what happens. And that's why when we meditate properly, we acknowledge those thoughts, but we don't give them too much energy. So if you're a person who's struggling with meditation, this could be the best advice that you get for a long time. Relax. If your thoughts come into your mind, which they inevitably will, watch them. See it playing out like a movie. Watch those thoughts come in and watch them go. But don't give them too much energy. Don't try and analyze them or create reasons for them being there. Watch them, see them, and let them go. When you can do that, and when you've done that for several times, and when your mind gets to learn that it's now got to take a different approach, then meditation will come. So for now, that's my first session. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name's Julie Kelly. You can find out more about my work on my website at www.juliekelly.co.uk. You can find out more about me on Twitter at Julie's Chat World and on YouTube at Mind Medicine. But for now, thank you.